I still remember the night I almost sent the message. It was late, somewhere around 2 in the morning. The kind of quiet that feels heavy. I had the text typed out, my thumb hovering over the send button. Just one tap, and it would have been gone. Just one tap, and maybe everything would have been different. But I didn't. I deleted it instead. It wasn't because I didn't care. I cared too much. I was scared. Scared of what it might mean if you replied. And even more scared if you didn't. Sometimes I think about that night like it's frozen somewhere in time. A moment that split my life into before and after. Before you left. After I let you go. You came into my life so gently that I almost didn't notice. We met during one of those weeks that felt like nothing special. Gray sky, tired mornings, the world spinning quietly around me. I didn't even believe in love back then. Not really. I thought love was something other people talked about, something that existed in songs or old letters, not in the small moments of real life. But you changed that. You didn't arrive with fireworks or big promises. You arrived with small things. A smile across the classroom. A random message saying, "Did you finish the assignment?" You weren't even trying, and that's what made it real. I started looking forward to your messages. Your name on my phone made my heart skip. Even when the texts were just about homework or a funny meme. I told myself it was nothing. That I was just bored. Just lonely. Just overthinking. But then you laughed one day. That kind of laugh that sounds like sunshine. And I realized I was gone. Completely. You weren't perfect. You had this habit of tapping your pen when you were nervous. And you'd talk too fast when you got excited. You overthought everything. You'd stay up late worrying about things that probably didn't even matter. But somehow, those flaws made you even more real. I remember thinking, this is what love actually looks like. Not grand gestures. Not movie scenes. Just sitting next to someone, listening to them breathe, and feeling safe. I never told you that. I should have. For a while, things were simple. We'd talk every day, share secrets we swore no one else knew. You told me about your dreams, the ones you didn't even tell your parents. I told you about my fears, the ones that kept me awake at night. We built this quiet world together, a place that only existed between us. And even though we never called it love, we both knew what it was. Or at least I thought we did. The first cracks started to show so slowly I didn't even notice. It was little things. Shorter replies. More "I'll text you later," and fewer good mornings. I told myself you were just busy. That maybe I was imagining things. But deep down, I could feel you slipping away. Still, I didn't say anything. Because I didn't want to seem clingy or desperate. It's funny how silence feels safe until it starts to destroy everything. There was one day that stands out the most. We were sitting on the old park bench, the one near the small lake. You were quiet that day, your eyes fixed somewhere far away. I asked you if something was wrong, and you said, "No, I'm fine." But your voice cracked a little. I should have pushed. I should have said, "Please talk to me." Instead, I just smiled and said, "Okay." That word, okay, it haunted me for years. Because it wasn't okay. You weren't okay. And I didn't know how to reach you anymore. Looking back, maybe that was the moment I started losing you. Not because of something either of us did wrong, but because we stopped saying the things that mattered. We started talking like strangers who remembered how it used to be. You'd say, "I'm tired." And I'd say same. And that was it. No more late night talks about our dreams. No more small jokes that only we understood. Just silence. I kept the message for months. The one I never sent. It was simple, really. "I'm sorry." I should have said something. I should have tried harder. "I miss you." I rewrote it 100 times. Sometimes longer, sometimes shorter. Sometimes angry, sometimes gentle. But I never sent it. Because I knew it wouldn't bring you back. Some things are better left unsent. Not because they don't matter, but because the person they were meant for is no longer listening. And yet, every now and then, I wonder what would have happened if I had sent it. Would you have forgiven me? Would we have talked again? Would things have been different? Maybe. Or maybe it would have hurt even more. Now, years later, I think I finally understand something. Sometimes, love doesn't end with a goodbye. Sometimes it just fades quietly, Not with a fight, but with silence. And sometimes, the most powerful message you can send is the one you keep in your heart. That night, when I deleted the message, I didn't know it would haunt me for so long. But I also didn't know it would teach me so much about love and about myself. Because love isn't just about being together. It's about learning when to let go. I remember one night you texted, "Do you ever think about leaving everything behind?" I didn't know how to answer. So I sent a joke. Something stupid. You replied with a single LOL. That was the last real conversation we ever had. After that, everything changed. The next few weeks were a blur. You stopped showing up to class. You stopped replying. I'd stare at my phone, typing and deleting messages like a fool. "Hey, are you okay? Did I do something wrong? I miss you." Each one felt too heavy to send. Too real. So I just didn't. And when I finally got the courage to message you again, it was too late. Your profile picture was gone. Your number stopped working. You disappeared. Just like that. At first, I thought you needed space. Then I thought you were angry. Then I thought maybe you found someone else. But the truth is, I didn't know anything. Because I never asked. I just sat there in silence. The same silence that destroyed us. Months passed. I learned to live around the emptiness, like it was a wound that never really healed. I still walked past that park bench sometimes, pretending I didn't expect to see you there. Your laughter would echo in my head when I least expected it. In the middle of the grocery store, while doing dishes, during songs that didn't even remind me of you before. Love is strange like that. It stays in the air, even after the person leaves. People told me to move on. That it wasn't meant to be. That young love doesn't last. But they didn't understand. It wasn't about time or labels. It was about the connection. You can't measure that in months or years. Sometimes one look, one shared secret, one quiet night can mean more than a lifetime. I think the hardest part wasn't losing you. It was losing the version of myself that existed when I was with you. You made me softer. You made me believe that maybe I was worth loving. And when you left, I had to learn how to be that person again. Without you. I kept the message for months. The one I never sent. It was simple, really. "I'm sorry. I should have said something. I should have tried harder. I miss you." I rewrote it 100 times. Sometimes longer, sometimes shorter. Sometimes angry, sometimes gentle. But I never sent it. Because I knew it wouldn't bring you back. Some things are better left unsent. Not because they don't matter, but because the person they were meant for is no longer listening. And yet, every now and then, I wonder what would have happened if I had sent it. Would you have forgiven me? Would we have talked again? Would things have been different? Maybe. Or maybe it would have hurt even more. Now, years later, I think I finally understand something. Sometimes, love doesn't end with a goodbye. Sometimes it just fades quietly, not with a fight, but with silence. And sometimes, the most powerful message you can send is the one you keep in your heart. That night, when I deleted the message, I didn't know it would haunt me for so long. But I also didn't know it would teach me so much about love and about myself. Because love isn't just about being together. It's about learning when to let go. We still met sometimes, but even then, it felt like we were pretending to be who we used to be. You'd laugh at something, but your eyes wouldn't sparkle the same way. You'd hold my hand, but your grip wasn't as tight. It felt like being with a memory of you instead of the real you. Then one night it happened, the moment that changed everything. You called me out of the blue. It was late, and your voice sounded strange, half tired, half hurt. You said, "I saw what you posted." I froze. I'd posted a photo earlier that evening, just a random picture of me with a few friends. Nothing special. "What about it?" I asked. You hesitated, then said softly, "You looked happy. Really happy." I laughed, confused. "Isn't that a good thing?" You were quiet for a few seconds before you said, "Yeah, it's just, it feels like you're moving on." That sentence hit me like a punch I didn't expect. Moving on? From what? From you? I wanted to say, "I'm not moving on, I'm trying to hold on." But the words didn't come out right. Instead, I said, "You're overthinking again." I meant it lightly, almost teasing. But the silence that followed told me I'd made a mistake. You said quietly, maybe I am. And then, I thought we were closer than this. I tried to explain, but the call ended before I could. You hung up. And that was the first night I cried because of you. The next morning, I texted you. I'm sorry about last night. I didn't mean it like that. You didn't reply. I waited all day. Then 2 days. Then a week. Nothing. I was like talking into a void. People around me started noticing. My friends asked, "Are you okay? You've been quiet lately." I'd smile and say, "I'm fine." Just like you used to. But inside, everything was falling apart. I checked your social media every day, like a habit I couldn't break. You were still posting, still smiling, still living. Just not with me. They say most relationships don't end because of something big. They end because of small things. The things we ignore. The words we never say. The feelings we swallow because we're afraid of losing the other person. Looking back now, I realize that's exactly what happened to us. It didn't fall apart all at once. It fell apart slowly, quietly. Like a thread that snaps after being pulled too tight for too long. It started the day you stopped looking at me the same way. I still remember it. We were walking home from class. You were talking about something funny your friend had said. I was laughing too. And then you turned to me, and for just a second, your eyes looked different. Distant. Like you were somewhere else. You smiled, but it wasn't the same smile that used to make my heart feel full. It was polite, careful, like you were hiding something. I didn't ask. I wanted to, God, I wanted to, but I didn't want to sound needy. So I just smiled back and said, "Yeah, that's funny." But that was the moment I knew something had changed. Over the next few days, you grew quieter. You stopped calling me before bed. Stopped sending good morning texts. And even when you did message, it felt different. Shorter. Colder. I'd stare at your messages, reading them over and over, trying to find the warmth that used to be there. But it was gone. One evening, I finally asked, "Is something wrong?" You replied almost instantly, "No, just tired." That word again, tired. It became your answer to everything. "Are you okay?" "I'm tired." "Do you want to hang out?" "Maybe later." "I'm tired." I started to hate that word. Not because it was wrong, but because it was hiding the truth. I tried to stay calm. I told myself it was just stress, or exams, or life. But deep down I was scared. Scared of losing you. Scared of saying the wrong thing. Scared that maybe I already had. So instead of asking again, I pretended everything was fine. We still met sometimes, but even then, it felt like we were pretending to be who we used to be. You'd laugh at something, but your eyes wouldn't sparkle the same way. You'd hold my hand, but your grip wasn't as tight. It felt like being with a memory of you instead of the real you. Then one night it happened, the moment that changed everything. You called me out of the blue. It was late, and your voice sounded strange, half tired, half hurt. You said, "I saw what you posted." I froze. I'd posted a photo earlier that evening, just a random picture of me with a few friends. Nothing special. "What about it?" I asked. You hesitated, then said softly, "You looked happy. Really happy." I laughed, confused. "Isn't that a good thing?" You were quiet for a few seconds before you said, "Yeah, it feels like you're moving on." That sentence hit me like a punch I didn't expect. Moving on? From what? From you? I wanted to say, "I'm not moving on, I'm trying to hold on." But the words didn't come out right. Instead I said, "You're overthinking again." I meant it lightly, almost teasing. But the silence that followed told me I'd made a mistake. You said quietly, "Maybe I am." And then, I thought we were closer than this. I tried to explain, but the call ended before I could. You hung up. And that was the first night I cried because of you. The next morning, I texted you. "I'm sorry about last night. I didn't mean it like that." You didn't reply. I waited all day. Then 2 days. Then a week. Nothing. I was like talking into a void. People around me started noticing. My friends asked, "Are you okay? You've been quiet lately." I'd smile and say, "I'm fine." Just like you used to. But inside, everything was falling apart. I checked your social media every day, like a habit I couldn't break. You were still posting, still smiling, still living. Just not with me. It hurt in a way I can't really describe. Like watching someone close a door you're still standing behind. One night, after weeks of silence, I decided to message you again. This time, I wanted to be honest. To say everything I hadn't said. I typed, "I'm sorry for how I made you feel. I wasn't moving on. I was just trying to look okay. But the truth is, I miss you. I miss us." I stared at it for a long time. My heart was racing. But before I could hit send, I saw your name pop up on my screen. You'd sent me a message first. For a second, I couldn't breathe. I opened it. It said, "Hey, I think we should stop talking for a while. I need space." That was it. No explanation. No reason. Just space. I remember sitting there, staring at your message. It felt unreal, like I was watching someone else's heartbreak. I typed a reply, then deleted it. Typed again. Deleted again. How do you respond to that? How do you let go of someone who's still in every corner of your heart? I didn't send anything that night. I just sat there in silence, feeling everything crumble quietly inside me. Days turned into weeks. You didn't come back. And I didn't try again. At least, not out loud. But every night, I wrote you messages in my notes app. Messages I never sent. I saw your favorite movie today. I still remembered all your favorite parts. I hope you're sleeping well. I still care. Even if you don't. It became a ritual. Writing to you without expecting a reply. Sound cue. Wine blowing softly through open window. I told myself I was okay. I threw myself into work, into friends, into distractions. But every now and then, something would remind me of you. A song, a scent, a random joke. And it would all come rushing back. And I'd think, if only I had said something sooner. If only I had told you what I really felt that night on the phone. If only I hadn't laughed. If only I had said, "I'm scared of losing you too." That's the thing about misunderstandings. They don't destroy you all at once. They eat away slowly, one unsent message at a time. One afternoon, a few months later, I saw you again. It was completely random. I was crossing the street, and there you were on the other side. For a moment, everything stopped. The cars, the noise, the world. You looked the same, maybe a little thinner, maybe a little older. But your eyes, they were still the same eyes I fell in love with. You saw me too. Our eyes met. And for a second, I thought maybe, just maybe, you'd smile. But you didn't. You just nodded slightly and kept walking. That moment broke something inside me, because it made me realize we were no longer us. We were two strangers with shared memories. And I couldn't even be angry, because part of me knew it was my fault too. I was too proud to say what I felt. Too scared to be honest. And now it was too late. That night, I went home and opened the old chat window. I scrolled through all our old messages, the jokes, the good nights, the little hearts. Each one felt like a ghost. I reached the top of the chat. That first message you ever sent. It said, "Hey, do you have the homework for today?" I smiled through the tears. Because that was where it all began. And maybe that's how it was always meant to end. Quietly, without a final message. I typed one last message that night. Not to send, just to write it out of my heart. If you ever read this somehow, I want you to know, I never stopped caring. I just didn't know how to say it. I'm sorry for the silence. I hope you found peace, even if it wasn't with me. Then I saved it. And I never opened the chat again. That was the message I never sent. And maybe that's how it was meant to be. Not as a beginning, not as an ending, but as a quiet reminder of what love once was. The next morning, I deleted it. No hesitation this time. Not out of anger. Not out of bitterness. But out of love, quiet, gentle love for what once was. Because even though it ended in silence, it was still real. Still meaningful. Still something I'll carry softly for the rest of my life. They say everyone leaves a lesson behind. Yours was simple, but it changed me. Say what you feel while you have the chance. Because sometimes, the message you never send becomes the echo you live with forever. That was the night I stopped waiting for you. Not because I stopped caring, but because I finally realized that some love stories are meant to be remembered, not rewritten. Time has a strange way of softening the sharp edges of pain. At first, it hurts so much you think you'll never breathe normally again. But then one morning, you wake up, and the ache feels different. Still there, but quieter. That's how it was with you. For months, I carried you everywhere. In songs. In dreams. In every person who even slightly reminded me of you. But slowly, I started realizing something. I wasn't holding on to you anymore. I was holding on to the idea of you. The person I remembered wasn't even real anymore. You'd moved on. And I was still standing in the same place, clutching a memory. One afternoon, I went back to the park, the one with the old bench by the lake. It was where we used to sit and talk for hours. The trees looked the same, the water was still calm, but everything felt different without you there. I sat down, closed my eyes, and whispered your name under my breath. Just once. It felt strange, saying your name out loud after so long. Like reopening a wound I'd tried so hard to hide. But instead of pain, what I felt was peace. I realized then that maybe forgiveness wasn't about the other person. Maybe it was about setting yourself free from the what-ifs. I'd spent so long blaming myself for not saying the right thing, for not sending that message, for not fighting harder. But love isn't a test. It's not something you can pass or fail. Sometimes it just ends. And that's okay. That night, I finally did something I'd been avoiding. I opened that old draft, the message I never sent. The words still stared back at me, unchanged. I'm sorry. I should have said something. I should have tried harder. I miss you. I read it slowly. Every word. And then I smiled. Because I finally understood. I didn't need to send it anymore. I didn't need you to read it for it to mean something. The message wasn't for you. It was for me. A way of saying, I'm ready to let go. The next morning, I deleted it. No hesitation this time. Not out of anger. Not out of bitterness. But out of love, quiet, gentle love for what once was. Because even though it ended in silence, it was still real. Still meaningful. Still something I'll carry softly for the rest of my life. They say everyone leaves a lesson behind. Yours was simple, but it changed me. Say what you feel while you have the chance. Because sometimes, the message you never send becomes the echo you live with forever. That was the night I stopped waiting for you. Not because I stopped caring, but because I finally realized that some love stories are meant to be remembered, not rewritten. It's been years now. The world kept moving. Even when I didn't feel ready to. The seasons changed. New people came into my life. New laughter filled the spaces you once held. But every now and then, when the sky turns gray and the rain starts to fall, I still think of you. Not with pain anymore, just with quiet gratitude. Because once, I knew what it felt like to love someone that deeply. And that kind of love, it never really disappears. It just settles into the background of who you become. For a long time, I wondered what I'd do if we ever met again. Would I tell you everything I couldn't say back then? Would I apologize for my silence? But now I don't think I would. Not because it doesn't matter, but because I finally understand that closure doesn't always come from conversations. Sometimes it comes from acceptance. The truth is, I forgave both of us. You for leaving when you needed to. And me, for not being brave enough to stop you. I stopped asking why it ended and started asking what it taught me. It taught me to speak even when my voice shakes. To show up for the people I love before it's too late. To choose honesty over comfort, even when honesty hurts. It taught me that silence may protect you in the moment, but it steals the chance for understanding. Now when I look back, I don't see failure. I see a chapter. One that shaped me. Because love, even when it ends, leaves traces of light behind. It teaches us how to feel, how to care, how to begin again. And maybe that's what you were meant to be. Not my forever, but my lesson. I sometimes wonder if you ever think of me. Maybe on a quiet evening when a song from that year plays by accident. Maybe when you pass by a park that looks a little too familiar. Maybe not at all. And that's okay. Because I've realized that love isn't about being remembered. It's about how deeply you loved while you could. One night recently, I found an old photo of us. We were laughing, completely unposed mid-sentence. It made me smile, Really smile. For the first time in years. I didn't cry this time. I just whispered a small thank you. Thank you for the laughter. For the warmth. For showing me what it means to feel seen. Even if it ended in silence, it was still love. And that's enough. If I could send one final message now, not as that scared, younger version of me, but as who I am today, it would be simple. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're loved. I hope you found what you were looking for. And thank you for being part of my story. That's the message I never sent. But somehow, I think you already know. Life has its way of giving us second chances, not always with people, but with feelings. I learned to love again. Differently, carefully, honestly. But a small part of me will always carry your memory, not as pain, but as peace. Because sometimes, the love that doesn't last is the one that teaches you how to keep your heart open. Now, whenever someone asks me if I believe in love, I smile. I tell them, yes. Because once, I loved someone I never got to say goodbye to, and that love still makes me kinder. That's what you left behind. Not emptiness, but empathy. Music slows, faint heartbeat rhythm beneath. So if anyone ever hears this story and wonders what to do with the words they're too afraid to say, here's what I've learned. Say them. Say them while you can. Tell the people you love that you care, that you're sorry, that they matter. Even if it's messy. Even if your voice shakes. Because one day, when the silence finally settles, the only thing heavier than regret is the message you never sent. I don't live in that silence anymore. I live here, in the present. Where memories don't hurt, they guide. Where love isn't something I lost, it's something that shaped me. And when the rain falls, I still look out the window and smile. Because somewhere in another lifetime, there's a version of us still sitting on that park bench. Laughing, talking, and not afraid to say how we feel. And that's enough.